Is it on?
Okay. Okay.
Let's start you.
A lot of things that happened to me that caused me to be disconnected socially is from a lot of trauma that happened to me. And so in school, I didn't say a lot, but I reacted a lot. I didn't know how to communicate very well, but I knew how to respond with anger and frustration due to a lot of abuse, a lot of the molestations that happened to me. So as I got to a certain age, I started doing things and started trying drugs. I started hanging around the wrong people. Right now we're on Cleveland Street. I mean, my mom still lived here. This area right here, we kind of like ran the street, sold drugs, and we committed a lot of crimes. But right here to the left of me, man, I had two close people who shot and killed each other in 2000. I had a friend named James McClee and Roscoe shot and killed each other over a few words. And I had a conversation with them that Friday trying to squash the beef between the both of them. And lo and behold, that same night when I left, those two had words again and met up and shot and killed each other right here at the age of 18 and the age of 19 years old. So violence was very high around the times in like the early 2000s and the late 90s. It was crazy over here back in the days. I started committing crimes, started doing little misdemeanor charges, petty charges, from misdemeanor larcenies to breaking in houses to graduating to carrying concealed weapons, get caught with guns and robbery charges and so forth.
My mom was afraid for my health because every time she saw me or other people used to tell her that your son out here on these drugs bad. And I was smoking marijuana, and I was drinking alcohol at the age of 13. I was 13 years old walking around here with a cigarette in my mouth. And so I thought I was grown. But you know what I mean, when you look at the circumstances where I grew up, it was a norm. It was a norm thing that you saw younger people smoking weed, hanging out, selling drugs and stuff like that. And so when the violence came second nature. My father taught me how to shoplift. He showed me and my sister how to shoplift just to put food in our stomach. You know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean, that was just survival. Survival was the key to waking up the next day and laying down.
Many people couldn't reach me nor get through to me. And that came from me having this issue where I had to fight every single day with accepting who I was and accepting my circumstances and accepting my situation. And I saw a lot of young men around me, predominantly black kids who grew up in the same community as I went through, but why wasn't they going through what I went through? What was it about me? Why did I have to go through these things? So I had to ask myself a lot of questions, and so what happened to me, I truly just started accepting the fact that, hey, this is what my life is panned out to be. So I started using drugs, from marijuana to cocaine and marijuana mixing by the age of 13. But by the age of 13, I was facing a serious charge, attempted murder charge. I was facing a life sentence at the age of 13. They kept me as a juvenile, and what happened after that, I came home at the age of 17, and I went right back to the same thing, right back to the same community, right back around the same people with the same mindset. So I started using every pill that you can possibly think of, from Xanax to the ecstasy pills to Oxycontin. But I found myself getting locked up every single time for miscellaneous things, from carrying a concealed weapon, driving without license, resisting arrest. And I realized something. The path that I was going down, it's not going to be pretty until I was 19 years old. Same street, around the same people. I was facing another attempted murder charge. I was facing 35 years to life at the age of 19 years old. surely I know this time I've messed up. And so with me going through these things, I realized something, that I was either going to die into the prison system, or I'd have to make a decision and get my life together. Signing a 10-year plea, I realized I had another opportunity at life, another chance at life to make it right. So I had to make a decision while I was in prison to get my life in order, to take advantage of this next opportunity that I'm about to get. So I vowed to myself, when I get out, I'm not coming back. When I get out, I have to surround myself around the right people. It was then at that moment I started dedicating my time, pouring back into young men, getting them to get on the right track and not making the same decisions I made. Fast forwarding, I realized something too, that I had a heart and a passion for speaking. Don't ask me where that came from. It was very odd that a person like me who had a speech impediment, didn't like to stand up in front of people, nor like to read, now love to talk in front of large groups and inspire people and motivate people. Regardless of where you're from, you have to have a desire to want more. And see, with me, listen, me and my mom, we didn't have the best relationship. It was just now to where we get to the point where we can talk, we can laugh, we can joke, we can listen to each other. But I had to grow into that person. A lot of times people must understand the importance of being the person who you desire to be. You must grow into that person. There's a lot of discipline, there's a lot of maturity. I was not the person who I am today 5-6 years ago. It took time and it took development. For me, even forgiving my mom, I had to forgive myself. I had to realize that it wasn't about me pinpointing the things that she didn't do for me or what the things that she caused for me to go through, but for me creating and developing a relationship so we can have and move forward.
Hello, my name is Arkevious Armstrong. I'm a grateful, recovering addict, and I'm here today to tell a story about my life, the true story. Everybody's life has a story to it, whether it's good or whether it's bad. You know, I thank God I was on drugs for 21 years, and I thank God to the day, March the 07, when I went to prison. Prison saved my life, and prison caused me to get my life together. And while I was in prison, I made a choice that I didn't want to use no more. I didn't want to get back on it. I hurted myself, I hurted my family, and I hurted my kids, and most of all, my mother died, passed away at 06. And the hurting part about it, I hurted her so much with my drug addiction. And I thank God to the day I've been clean for 13 years and 8 months. Without God, it can't be done. You know, my family, me and my family are together. We're more happy with my grandkids. And since I've been off drugs, I've seen a lot in life that I would have never saw if I hadn't come off drugs. And I thank God to the day that I give my glory to God to keeping me strong, health, strength, and mind. And I tell everybody, you know, when people see the worst in you, God see the best in all of us, because God got us all.
I felt like it was very important that I brought my mom in to this documentary, mainly because there's some things that I feel like as a young man that I struggle with. And I wanted to have that relationship, that bond and that connection with her that I used to have as a kid, that I remember as a kid that I had with her. We had a bond as a mother and son would, despite the things that was going on, despite the struggles that she was dealing with. She still had me by her hip at all times. She would not let me leave her side. So as I matured, as I've grown into the man that I am today, I realized like I need to have that relationship with my mom. And so with this documentary, I felt like it would be a key component to the direction that I am going in my life, to have her to be a part of it. And so with maturity, with discipline, and with just reconnecting myself with God, I realized I'm not going to get to that level where I feel like God has taken me to if I don't create that and develop that relationship with my mom. So I am so glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. And I want all of you remember these words right here. Don't give up. Don't give out. Give it to God and leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
My recovery is with God every day. I do my meeting with God. I thank God for 13 years and these months. I hadn't picked up and put it back down. I had to start all over again. I've been going since 06.
06, 13 years clean.
13 years later.
13 years clean. And that's the thing, that because I have to always, when I speak, I'm always taking a moment out to tell people about the things that I went through and the addiction my mom had, but I always take a second out to say, hey, she's been 13 years clean. Can y'all give her a round of applause? And people are always clapping their hands off to know that, because that type of drug, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy, you know, and that's one thing I commend you for, because I knew it was a drug that had you mentally, but that type of demon, that type of spirit is not something you just can wake up and shake off. Yeah. You know what I mean? So God had to deal with this woman in her private. God had to deal with her alone. And so I am so glad to see you clean. You thrive and you still looking good, you know what I mean, for your age. And that's a thing too, because a lot of people knew that even though you had a bad drug addiction, you had a huge heart. You had a huge heart. This woman would feed the community with our food that we supposed to be eating. She would feed the community, and despite that, she would open up her house to people, you know. And so despite of her drug addiction, despite of the things that she was struggling with, her heart, you know what I mean, people loved her despite of, and that's why you didn't have people hesitant to helping you with your kids. You know, a lot of people chipped in and helped you out to raise her kids, despite, because her heart, you know what I mean, they know when they needed her, you came through for them when you didn't have. You had a huge heart. I think that's where I get my heart from. I really do. I have a compassion. I'm very selfless when it comes to giving to people, when it comes to showing love, when it comes to providing. I think when I look back, I get that part from you, and I know that workaholic, that grind I got from Mike, which was my father, was a workaholic. You know, he cut grass, fixed cars, he did whatever, he worked the job, he did whatever to make money. And so I take my hat off to both of my parents, despite of both of them having their own personal issues growing up. Everybody's not going to have the perfect parents. You know what I mean? We went through some things, we had some challenges, and I'm glad to be where I'm at today, to be able to be where I can say I love you. You know what I mean? I don't care what you went through. I don't care what you did. Let's create and let's develop a relationship now. And, you know, my father, I would never have that moment, because, you know, he committed suicide in 2002. And so, but I know in spirit, you know, last time we talked, it was a conversation where for the first time he told me he loved me. I didn't know how to respond to it. I didn't know how to react to it. So I don't even know if I said I love you back, but shortly after that, he lost his life. But, you know what I mean? I'm glad I still have her, who you almost lost your life. And what year was that?
06.
06, had a real bad car accident, and where they had to airlift you. I think somebody else died in that car accident. Yeah.
I remember very well, because I was sober that day. And we ran out of gas on 85, and the man told me to stay in there with him. And he said, because Miss Constance don't never leave me. He said, no, don't leave me, Miss Constance. I said, I would. So SUV was coming down the highway, and he was telling me these last words before he passed away. He said, I love you, Miss Constance, in a special way. He said, when I leave here, my kids be well taken care of. And that's the only thing I remember. But I remember seeing a purple cloud. I was knocked through the windshield, 18-wheeler drugger. I looked up in there and said, God, please don't let me die. Sure did.
And I was incarcerated. I was in Kentucky federal prison when I got the news that happened. Then shortly after that, I think before that, my grandmother passed away. But I lost my father while I was incarcerated. I lost my grandmother while I was incarcerated, and I almost lost you. But I remember being at a peace. I was at a peace to where, while all this was going on, I was not bothered. I wasn't moved. But I think God was dealing with me at that moment. And so, and he allowed you to see, to walk from up out of that.
The doctor said I'd never walk again. Never. I said, devil, you're a liar. I'm not going to claim him, because God going to let me walk. I trust and believe. If I got my date mixed up, my clean date was in '07. My accident was in '06. That's because I'm excited to sit here and make this. My mother passed away in '06, and the hurting part about it, I stayed so high on drugs. I thought she passed away on the 30th. 4 years ago, I pulled a T-shirt out of my drawer, her picture on. She passed away on my birthday.
Wow.
And that killed me dead. And I tell people, if your mother wants you to change, why she live and change? Because it hurt worse when
She sure did. She sure
She
did.
wanted me to change. And every year my anniversary, I sit at the kitchen table and I cry. Said I couldn't get it when you were here, but I got it while you gone. And it hurts me so bad that I didn't do it. I didn't change my life before she passed.
And that's all she wanted.
That's all thing she wanted. And I tell anybody, change your life while your parents, your mother, father want you to do something, change it. Don't wait till the day and go and change, because it's going to hurt you worse. But like I told my mother, I'm going to be all right. I'm saying I couldn't get it while she was living, but when I meet her in heaven, I can sit down and talk and give her a hug. You know, life ain't never too late. Sometimes it takes long, sometimes it takes short, and sometimes you may not never get it. But you know, you look at me, and a lot of people out there, y'all know me. If God can fix and clean this and fix this right here, anything can be fixed.
Anything.
Anything can be fixed. If my family, my mother had understood my situation, my drug problem, instead of my sisters and brothers talking against me and could have got me some kind of help, I would have got help. But how can you get help? Nobody help you to get help. Just like I was lost out there to die without no kind of help. I didn't know how to get help.
And I think a lot of that played the fact that being on drugs, because again, I was on drugs heavily, from on pills, using marijuana. And I tell people at the age of 13, I was experimenting with cocaine and marijuana at one time. And when you're involved in those type of drugs, you don't even see the wrong that you're doing. And, you know, and so I can definitely contest to that I can agree that when you're on drugs like that, you don't know how to get help. You know, you probably need help. I knew I needed help, but how do you get help? How do you go to the right person? You know, and what you were saying, like having brothers and sisters, like knowing that I need you seeing that I need help, you seeing that I don't have my kids, you seeing that I'm strung out, like instead of talking about me, instead of putting me down, like help me.
How can I get up? You keep knocking me down.
Right.
I didn't know who I was till I got sober and clean. Till my mind got clean and it was sober.
How did that feel when your mind started to clear up and you're like,
How did that feel? A lot of things that I know now, I didn't know. And I thank God that I'm glad that I know what I know today. Because if my mind was like it used to be, and I was still on drugs, I wouldn't be sitting here. Prison got me sober and clean. Prison helped me rehabilitate my mind. I found out who I was. I didn't know who I was before I went to prison. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So sick and tired of getting high. So sick and tired of getting high that I couldn't die. When I seen that I couldn't die, I had a chance to live. When they put them handcuffs on my arm in '07, March the 27th, I said, Lord, this is it. Because I can't do nothing with me, but I know you can. Don't give up. Don't give out. Pick up that Bible and give it to God and leave it alone. But without Him, it can't be done. You can't do nothing without Him. I tried it so many times, picking up, putting it down, because I had a devil on my side. I didn't know who God was. I didn't take out time for it.
how did that make you feel, Arkevious, when you saw your mom go through all this, but then she finally get it right?
It was, to me, something as a kid I've always wanted. I've always wanted, and she probably can share that with you. The only thing, like with her mom, used to want her to be clean. I was always that kid, was want my mama to leave that stuff alone. I cared about her. I was the kid who fought every kid in school because they said something about her. And I didn't have to worry about, me being on punishment, you know what I mean? Because it was just like, I had my own attitude, my own negative energy, because to me, it was something precious, something, it was a jewel, it was a gem. And, you know, I experienced a whole lot. I really did. And so when you look at that kid who was seeing her using drugs in and out the crack houses with her, I never saw no wrong. I didn't see no wrong. That was still my mother. And I share that story with so many people, even being in foster care. I don't care. This is not my family. Regardless of why I got taken away, I never saw any wrong in this woman. And so to me, to see her clean, I rejoice, because to me, it shows you not from a person who, from all of my life, who used the drug. And so I'm the baby boy, so I seen it and I experienced it. And so to me, it's like, if this woman can change her life, anybody can change her life. And it's not an easy fix. She had to find herself wanting to change. She said, I got high so much to where I realized I couldn't die. So something had to change. And I tell people that all the time, until you get fed up, until you get tired, until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, nothing is gonna change. She was ready to change. And so for her to, you know, she had to remove herself. When she came home from prison, she didn't come back to her environment. She moved away for some years and she came back. But I just think her presence alone is life changing. For so many people who used to get high with her, they see her, you know, and they're loving to see her because she's the clean constant. She's not the same constant. Now, she is still snap on you. That part of her ain't left nowhere. She'll still get in your business if she have to. But, you know what I mean, the person that they know, she's still the caring. She will give, and she will give you the shirt off her back, and she will straighten you out at the snap of a finger. But she's the clean Constance, not the drug addict Constance. So you can't mix the two no more. You know what I mean? Back then she was a drug addict Constance, but she's not that person. So I love to see it. I'm glad to see it. And now I just feel like there's another phase, there's another chapter in her life. And if I can help her get to that next chapter, I want to help her, because there's so many people need to hear her story. They need to see her face. They need to hear her voice. And then I think she's such a profound person. She's always gave you words of encouragement, even when she was at her lowest point. Always gave people who was at their lowest point, giving them words of advice. And, you know, and I just know there's so many things in this world that I feel like God is going to take her. But to see her where she's at now, I'm excited to see that she's clean. 13 years clean.
13 years and 7 months.
Yeah, 13 years clean.
I want to give Arkevious some feedback on. He wanted to see me change. That's because I never wanted to change. And I never wanted to stop. I never wanted to slow down. But I wanted off of it. But I couldn't, and I didn't. And I know one day, God's gonna take it away from me and get me off of it.
I know filming my second documentary is gonna be nothing but rewarding to so many people who has been anticipating on watching. Not only just listening to me, but seeing the person behind the lens, watching a person's story, listen to a person's story. So I'm excited to do this second documentary, because I know there are so many people who will be inspired and encouraged to watch the journey and the growth. And I've always encouraged people, if I can tell you anything, that one thing I will always tell you, to follow your heart, follow your dreams, and always be inspired to do so. One of the biggest things that we must understand about life, we only have one shot. And that one shot, you must make it count. So don't be afraid to jump. Don't be afraid to reach. Don't be afraid to climb.